It's just this is why you play the game. This is why you compete. You get to play off football and good things happen.
Go rest up and good luck. Enjoy this one. We'll see you next week.
Thank you very much. Go Broncos.
It should never have ended like this. After a 2025 regular season, where his abilities were called into question every single week, even through an 11-game win streak, Bo Nix's epic divisional round performance against the Bills should only have been the beginning. Instead, it gave way to one of the most bittersweet moments in franchise history. Minutes after this interview on the field, it was announced that Nix was out for the season and had to watch from the sidelines at Mile High as the Broncos hosted a conference championship game without him. But instead of sitting around and feeling sorry for themselves, the Broncos have gone all in. The game against the Bills was emphatic proof that number 10 is their guy. This is the scary truth about Bo Nix and why he will reach the heights that only Elway and Manning have known in orange and blue. This video is brought to you by PrizePicks. That impressive rookie season in 2024 was always going to be a tough act to follow. After all, finishing third in Offensive Rookie of the Year voting as supposedly the biggest reach in the first round was nothing to scoff at. Neither was getting the Broncos their first playoff berth in nearly a decade. Head coach Sean Payton was adamant that Nix was his guy, and he was quickly proven right. His sophomore effort in 2025 wasn't always pretty, but it was effective. Riding the coattails of an elite defense, Denver finished with 14 wins and the conference 1 seed, right where they wanted to be.
He was very happy to get Bo Nix, but last year they didn't have a great offense. They had a long stretches where you looked at them and said, okay, is this good enough to get to the Super Bowl? Ultimately, it wasn't. But it's the combination of Payton, the head coach, Payton, the general manager, and Vance Joseph all working together. And it's just a different look. I don't think Sean Payton's, none of his New Orleans teams really look like this. Maybe it was the indoor thing in New Orleans where it was just kind of like a video game football. You know, Drew Brees always throwing for 5,000 yards and just like the fireworks. But he has settled that franchise down. And you look at them and there are a handful of teams, maybe 3 or 4 teams you look at in the AFC and say, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see them get to the Super Bowl. The Broncos are one of those teams.
We already went over how unfortunate the end to last season was, but all of the noise coming out of Colorado makes it sound like 2026 might be even better.
Last year, I can recall several times, you know, I said, look, I like this team a lot. And I would say the very same thing going into this season. I love what we did in the draft. I love what we've done in the offseason. The addition of some key pieces that we think will help us. And then let's go make a run, let's go play, and that's the best part of it.
So what makes the 2026 version of the Broncos so different and gives Bo Nix such a massive edge? Well, there's one obvious place to start.
We've got breaking news out of the NFL. The Dolphins are trading wide receiver Jalen Waddle to the Broncos. That's been confirmed by our Jonathan Jones. In return, Miami will receive the 30th overall pick in this year's draft, along with a 3rd and a 4th round pick. The Fins will also send a 4th rounder to Denver.
Jalen Waddle is one of the most electric wide receivers in the NFL, and the first 3 years of his career in Miami were a testament to that. He brings a new skill set to this offense that veteran wideout Courtland Sutton clearly appreciates.
He has tremendous speed. You know, his speed and acceleration, you know, paired together are top tier. His understanding of offense, his understanding of just football knowledge, being able to understand how to manipulate his speed to be able to get into these spots, and then his run after the catch, I'm sure you guys already know, is top tier. You know, once the ball gets in his hand, he's trying to get to the end zone. You know, he looks and he's like, how fast can he get from point A to point B once the ball gets in his hand? And it's really fun to be able to watch a guy who has that quality, and that, you know, attribute, you know, watching him, you know, do that up close and personal. It's fun to watch and fun to be a part of.
That's not necessarily what you would expect to hear from a wide receiver one whose team just traded for someone who will definitely eat into his target share. But Sutton is not like most guys. He leads by example, taking a team-friendly deal last offseason, leaving money on the table so the team could chase a ring. As Jalen Waddle himself noted, The vets have fostered a real team culture around this locker room, such that anybody who can get them closer to their ultimate goal of winning that chip is welcomed with open arms.
Man, it's a great group, honestly, and I'm not even talking about, everyone know they can, play and do all these amazing things on the field. I'm just talking about them as people, come in as the new guy, and then they welcome me with open arms, treat me like a brother since day one, and, I really got to look at Corden and see what he did with the young guys, and yeah, man, it's great. They're great.
Broncos legend Champ Bailey believes that Waddle is more than just a culture fit for this team. He was arguably the missing piece for this scheme all along.
One thing I always say is speed kills. And when you have a guy that's not that dynamic, there's nobody going to be happier than Courtland Sutton, right? A lot of pressure release off him, off his shoulders. He doesn't have to be the guy. Now you have a guy that can really play, can really stretch the field, open up things for him. So I know he's excited about it. But when you go to a new team, and I'm saying this from experience, when you go to a new team at this point in his career, people are gonna push you just because eyeballs are on you. People push you to work harder, practice harder, be a leader. And I'm looking forward to seeing him embrace those aspects of his game, which is gonna elevate his game and those around him. So adding that dynamic to the locker room is gonna help everybody.
Adding some verticality to an offense that really struggled for explosive plays last year will be a huge help. The running game was lackluster as well, meaning the Broncos' offense was hardly ever in control of the clock heading into the fourth quarter, which lent itself to some epic comebacks that could have been avoided altogether with better game management.
Big thanks to PrizePicks for sponsoring the channel. If you follow this channel, you know that PrizePicks is the #1 sports pick app in the country because it keeps things simple. No complicated drafts. Just pick a few players, decide if they'll go more or less on their stats, and you're in. They've even expanded to team picks, so you can call the winner, the spread, or the game total on top of your player projections. And on top of all that, PrizePicks is available in most states, including California, Texas, and Florida. So if we want to look ahead to the 2026 NFL season, I'm really eyeing Jaylen Waddle. I think he easily clears more than his yardage total if he stays healthy. If you stack that with Jamar Chase going more on his touchdowns, the value is definitely there. Man, I already can't wait to see how this plays out come September. Let me know what you're building. Check the link in the description to download the PrizePicks app today and use code HMA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code HMA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Simply put, the offense last year was inconsistent. While some of that can be blamed on Bo Nix, a lot of it came down to the weapons at his disposal. On a week-to-week basis, there was simply no fear factor about this offense.
I think they got to see more. I don't know that people fear him. I think that they feel like they can defend him. I think they let him take off and run. And a number of those situations, I don't see people spying Bo Nix right now. They kind of want him to take off with it. It's one of the reasons why he's been a good scrambler and gained a lot of first downs. But I don't think they fear his ability to carve defenses up with the deep ball. Maybe Jaylen Waddle, helps change some of that with Sutton and the other guys that they have right there, Troy Franklin, whatnot. I think, he needs another target out there to really stretch the defense, to stretch it vertically, but also stress the defense. And so I think maybe he helps make a difference right there.
Don't get me wrong, Nix was clutch as hell. But from the outside looking in, this offense was not fully healthy. If they wanted to be taken seriously on that side of the ball, change was going to have to come. The Waddle trade was a start. Re-signing J.K. Dobbins is also a positive sign. But there was an even more drastic measure taken earlier this year that has flown somewhat under the radar. When the Broncos looked inward, they came to a similar conclusion as the rest of us, and Sean Payton made a bold decision. He surrendered play calling to former pass game coordinator and QB's coach, Davis Webb. Now, this was initially reported as a desperate measure to keep him on the staff, since Webb was generating a lot of buzz this past hiring cycle. But from the sounds of it, Sean Payton wholeheartedly believes in his prodigy.
This young coach, and I say young, Davis Webb is something. And sure, it's funny, the timeline that when you have a young coach like a Joe Brady or a Declan Doyle or any of these guys that I've been fortunate enough to hire when they're young coaches, like what you think is their timeline of success, position coach, coordinator, head coach, is always 2 years behind what the league sees. It's much quicker. And so I remember interviewing Davis. He's one of those few players that came from playing right into coaching. There's usually a couple of years. And he finished the interview, and we had a schedule with some other guys lined up, and as he's heading to the airport, I turned to George Payton. I said, I don't know what we're doing letting him leave the building. Call the driver back up. He comes back and hire him.
While he admits that they made this call sooner than anticipated, there's no doubt that this kind of move was coming sooner or later. I mean, just listen to left tackle Garrett Bowles talk about Webb.
Now he can take what he's learned, through so many different coaches and so many different offenses and find out what's best for him. And he's so smart with the X's and O's. Obviously, he went to Texas Tech, then went to Cal, two prestige colleges, and knowing that, who he is as a person, like I love him to death. He's such a good person. And, to have a younger guy like that on the coaching staff that understands how we feel and our emotions and our ups and downs, he can control all that and put us in the best situations. And he's not afraid to drop everything on the line and let it rip. And that's what we need. We want that confidence, and we want that love, and we have that. So
that tidbit about Webb's youth, he's only 31, 3 years younger than Bowles himself, is hugely significant, especially in the context of Sean Payton entering his age 63 season. Webb can relate to this new generation on a deeper level, and according to Bowles, has just the right amount of youthful arrogance to let it rip, which is exactly what you'll want your offense to do when you've traded significant capital for Jalen Waddle. Webb himself was a backup for the Buffalo Bills when they traded for Stephon Diggs going into the 2020 season, so when he said this in one of his press conferences, our ears perked up.
There's some similarities when I was with Josh Allen going into year 3, similar to Bo going into year 3, and we traded for Stephon Diggs. And that was a good year. That was a good 2-year run in 20 and 21 when I was together with them. Just seeing the growth from both players. That time, there's some similarities of what started to happen here. It doesn't mean it's going to. We got a long way to go. But man, he's good, and I've just enjoyed the person and just watching him work. He is a blessing to be around. He is a multiplier. He's a thermostat. Very, very good. That's a credit to George. That's a credit to Sean. We don't bring in bad people here. We got really good players, and we got great team chemistry.
If that's the kind of impact that Jalen Waddle has on Bo Nix, then Denver will monopolize the airspace in every phase of the game. Nix is perfectly poised to take that fabled third-year leap. He played winning but often inconsistent, unspectacular football in the 2025 regular season. Now he has one of the most explosive receivers in the league, complemented by a veteran stalwart opposite him who comes down with just about anything you throw at him, and one of the stingiest defenses in the NFL. We'll just come out and state the obvious. The 2026 Denver Broncos have the perfect recipe for a Super Bowl run. Don't just take that from me. Here's the franchise's all-time leading receiver, Rod Smith, on what makes Denver tick historically.
Rod, last question for us. You and Ed McCaffrey won 2 Super Bowls together. Dynamic duo. Demaryius and Emmanuel, dynamic duo at the receiver position. Now you got Courtland and Waddle. What are their stats going to be this year, or what do they have to be this year for the Broncos to win a Super Bowl?
I'll say this. Both of them have 1,000. Both of them have 1,000. We've always had 2 guys have 1,000 when we won the Super Bowls. Mm-hmm. Both guys had 1,000.
Will history repeat itself? Perhaps. One thing that we know for sure is that Bo Nix has the best supporting cast of his career heading into 2026. He'll be all healed up, looking to avenge the AFC Championship loss with an elite receiving core and a staunch defense at his back. The scary truth about Bo Nix is that if history does indeed repeat itself here and the Broncos win Super Bowl 61, he will have forged his way into the pantheon of great Broncos quarterbacks sooner than any of us expected. And many people who saw him as a checkdown merchant with inflated stats coming out of college for all of the QB-needy teams that passed on him in 2024, and anyone who downplayed his value since, those are conversations they may not be willing to have. But what do you think? Will Bo Nix and these Broncos take advantage of this championship window? Let us know in the comments.